Hello, welcome. Lecture 1, Introduction to Psychology. Really glad you're here, and I'm really looking forward to this experience we're all going to share together. My name again is Steve Jordans. I'm a professor of psychology from the University of Toronto Scarborough, and I get to be your guide, I guess I would call myself, through this course. And the reason I say it that way is I will be the one presenting the lectures, and I will be the one generally overseeing this whole course. But part of my goal in this course is to really ultimately make this a group experience, something we all do together. I have this very organic notion in mind where my hope is that the lectures and the activities that we do will really serve the role of sparking thought and sparking discussion and sparking ideas. And we're going to try to capture those thoughts, discussions, and ideas using technology in various ways that I think will ultimately allow this course to grow into something that's much more than the lectures and the activities I provide. So I see myself as the gardener, I guess you could say, the one that tries to provide the necessary ingredients to get that whole process going. But ultimately what I really look forward to is just seeing where this all goes. So that's kind of my perspective on what I hope to see happen with this course, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see if it works. Now, how do I hope to do this? Well, what we're going to do is cover psychology, and psychology is a very broad topic. But we're going to cover it across 8 weeks, and within each week there will be about 8 lectures. The lectures will be about 10 to 15 minutes long. All of those lectures will be focused on some theme, so each week will have a theme of a sort, and then each lecture within that will have its own specific issue or theme or experiment that we'll build around. And ultimately the hope is that by kind of visiting each of you can almost think of it like imagine a tourist an alien coming down and wanting to visit the planet and get a good sense of what Earth is like. Well, you might take them from site to site, culture to culture, and give them a sense of what all these various things are. And hopefully if you do that in a somewhat structured way, the alien would leave the planet with a good sense of how all those things fit together. That's what we're going to try to do in this course. Visit the different issues in psychology one by one, show you what they are, show you why they're fascinating and why they're worthy of thought and discussion. And ultimately, as we go through this course, we will build this big picture of the human mind and human behavior. All right, how are we going to do it? Well, the style I have in mind, and again, it's an organic course, so we'll see what actually happens, but the style I have in mind is that most of the lectures will begin much like this one's beginning. Me talking to you literally as though you're right there, and kind of setting the stage for whatever topic we're going to be talking about. Once I do that, and I'll try to do that pretty quickly, then we will jump right into that topic. Now, when we jump in, we will probably shift from this sort of view to this sort of view. Okay, this view that we're looking at right now is a good one for me to share with you. I can basically share my desktop. Anything we're doing, if we're doing web-based stuff, I can do whatever here with you. You can watch along as we do so. Or I can share PowerPoints, which will often be the case. A lot of these lectures will have PowerPoints associated with them, which I will make available, by the way, if you're interested. And to some extent, it'll involve us walking through these PowerPoints in a very natural way, as if you're basically in my office and we're going through this together. So let's do a little bit of that to give you the sense, and we'll stay on the issue of the course, but we'll do it using this mode. So what should you expect as a student in this course? Well, first of all, what should you expect from me? I am what's called a cognitive psychologist, and specifically I've done a lot of research on human memory, how human memory works, and the interplay between conscious and unconscious influences. We're going to talk about that quite a bit in some of the lectures, but just to give you a little bit of a feel for that, a lot of your behavior is not behavior that you've consciously thought about and ultimately decided, I want to do X. Quite a bit of what we do every day just reflects habit. And habit can be seen as an unconscious influence. So many psychologists believe that humans have this interplay constantly going on between these sort of automatic habitual responses to a situation versus much more conscious, thought out, reasoned responses. And that these two forces have to work things out to control behavior. So I find that a really fascinating issue, and I've done a lot of research on that. But perhaps most relevant to this course, over the last 5 or 10 years, I've become really interested in the educational experience in a bigger way. I've always loved to lecture. I mean, I really enjoy this sort of opportunity to share knowledge and to learn from you guys, because ultimately every time I lecture I end up learning, it feels like as much as I teach. So I love that. I love that exchange of information. But I also think that I owe you more than that. That within the context of this course, you won't just be exposed to information, but you will also have the experience and the practice of generating ideas, maybe through critical thought, maybe through creative thought, expressing those ideas, perhaps verbally, perhaps even through little mini videos we share where we're actually given the opportunity to show who we are and what we believe. And we will ultimately share some of those ideas and have good discussions. And it's in the course of those discussions when you actually use the information and reflect on the information that you've been experiencing that you really get it. That what you're learning really goes deep and connects with you. And so we will be doing that a lot, and we'll be using a lot of technology to do that. Recent work in my lab has been both creating and assessing educational technologies, really trying to find those ones that make a difference. And you'll be experiencing a lot of those in this course. In fact, generally speaking, after every week of the course, there will be some sort of activity that will be designed to take what you learned from that week and have you use it or discuss it or in some way get active with the material. And that will solidify that week. And so we're going to have a week of lectures, maybe with some, just sort of little multiple choice tests within. But then we're going to do something a little more interesting at the end of each week. That's my goal, and I think that'll make it a really fun experience for you. So the course itself then will combine these elements. Lectures, which will be usually focused on an experiment or some issue that I think you will find really fascinating. So psychology is such a broad area. It ranges from the brain to how we perceive information from the outside world, how we learn, how we store that information, how we interact with others, how all of this changes over a lifetime, mental illness, and how we treat that. So there's all these issues in psychology. And because this course, to some extent, is a little compressed, we're going to visit all of psychology in roughly 16 hours. What that means is I get to cherry pick. Okay, I get to grab the things that I think are the most interesting, the most thought-provoking, and those are the things that every lecture will center on. The idea, again, will be to really kind of have you leave every lecture going, wow, what does that mean? What do I think that means? And that's how I'll create the lectures, with that in mind. Those lectures will be combined with these activities, and again, the activities will get you to take what you learned and use it in some way. All of that, I hope, is wrapped in a larger shell. For example, we will have a wiki for this course. As I say, there's not much time in the lecture, so I can often only touch on a lot of fascinating topics. If we as a class want to think about one of those topics in greater detail, maybe you hear something that you like and you want to go out and do some more research on it, then I'll be encouraging you to do so, and then to bring back what you've learned and write a little bit about it in this wiki that we will all be creating together. And so the wiki will actually take the lectures as a jumping off point, but then we'll flesh them out in a much more rich and complex way. And by building this all together, we will really be learning together. And I think that will be a really kind of cool experience that I hope overarches the lectures and the activities. Okay, so I think that gives you a sense of my rough, right now, envisionment of this course and my hopes for what it is. I really think this is a brand new medium for all of us, and I want to kind of push it. I want to see how different we can be from the traditional public education system. Of course, different in a great way. Throughout this course, I'll be endeavoring to try to make this a really fascinating and thought-provoking educational experience for you. I hope that when you watch some of my lectures, you'll end up going and talking to your friends and your family about what you've learned. If I'm doing my job right, that will just happen naturally. And perhaps you will then want to bring back those interactions into this context. Sounds like a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to get things going next lecture by focusing on the following question, which turns out to be a really fascinating question. Humans figured out the scientific method long, long ago, and they in fact used it for hundreds of years to study biology, and chemistry, and physics, and astronomy. But it's really only been just over 100 years since we've turned that scientific method upon ourselves and started asking about ourselves and our behavior and what may underlie that. Why did it take so long? And what does that tell us about human psychology? If you find that an interesting question, I'll see you at Lecture 2. Thanks. Bye-bye.